Dave Birkett here, along with Carlos Monarrez. Another Lions preview. Lions against the Carolina Panthers this week, Carlos, and a chance for the Lions to get even, get back to 500 if they can get a win in Carolina. And look, it's going to be an interesting game because there's a lot unknown right now with injuries. There's a lot of guys that I guess that we don't expect to play or don't know if they're going to play. DeAndre Swift for the Lions, Teddy Bridgewater for the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey already appears to be ruled out or just about out. So expectations that he won't be there. But look, this is a game that I'm struggling to pick a little bit because I was thinking, Carolina, well-coached team, Lions going on the road, even though Carolina's not great, that maybe this was a spot where Carolina would win. But Will Grier, PJ Walker, I mean, if one of those guys is quarterback, do they really have the stuff to beat the Lions? I don't know. You tell me.
That's a good question. You wouldn't think so, right? You wouldn't think that without your star, quarterback or running back, that you have much of a chance. And they're not particularly good on defense either. So, what we've heard is I think that the Panthers kind of aren't as bad as their record says they are, but then people say the Lions aren't as good as their record says they are. So, I think that the Panthers have more serious injury concerns right now. And they gave up they played the Bucks, I think, last week and got just steamrolled. So, they're not really trending in the right direction. I think that the Lions, if it comes down to like the injury report and, whoever is able to hobble out there with more able bodies maybe wins this game.
Yeah, no, you're right. Tampa doubled them up last week, 46-23. So one of those games where they didn't put up much of a fight, but they did. Look, 2 weeks ago, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs by 2 points. So this is a team that, I think like a lot of these mediocre to worse teams in the NFL where they can put some games together, and they can look competitive and because they're well coached, because they do some different things. But look, PJ Walker, I think he was in the XFL before, right? He played for Matt Rule, Carolina's coach at Temple. So there's a little bit of a history there. Will Grier, hasn't even thrown a pass this year. And Matt Rule said this week that those two guys were essentially splitting reps in practice because he didn't know who the backup was. And so he was trying to both get two guys ready in case Bridgewater couldn't play and also figure out who the number two was, like give them enough reps because they didn't have any reps this preseason to figure out who the number two is. And that's just not a great spot to be in if you're an NFL team here, week 9, and you don't know. I mean, it reminds me a lot of what happened with the Lions backup situation last year, right? Where all of a sudden you're throwing Jeff Driscoll in and he didn't have a preseason with the team and he had a little bit of experience, maybe like Will Grier. And then you got a David Blau who had never played before, sort of like PJ Walker, who's, coming the escape hatch route to the NFL where he's, he was out of the league and, was biding his time in these small leagues to before he finally got a break. And now he's 3 of 8 passing. So look, this is a game when I look at that on paper, I think the Lions should win, but yet there's something about this that just keeps drawing me back to Carolina. Like, maybe this team is, maybe they have enough to give the Lions a run and to give them a scare. So I guess that's why I'm so torn on who to pick in this game.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you about another quarterback named Kurt Warner who clawed his way back into the NFL and some
Good
stuff.
point.
Yeah, this is it's just the quarterback position is so hard. And it'd be one thing if it was someone like a Chase Daniel or someone who has some experience, who's been around. They might be able to put something together in short order, borrowing on their experience. But these guys don't have enough, and it's not like this is a finely tuned offense that you can rely on a lot of other weapons that you have and McCaffrey back there or whatever else, so it's not looking good and you got to score points, I mean, it's just, I think the Lions are going to score points in this game. And the Panthers are going to have to keep up, as we know, the Lions are pretty good about letting people keep up on defense, but it might be just a little too much for the Panthers this week, I think.
All right, let's talk about the Lions injury situation here a little bit. I mean, Matthew Stafford was back at practice on Thursday. Certainly seems like he's going to be playing with the thumb injury that he suffered. Now, look, he's, you look at his history of playing with hand injuries, and it's not great, and he said some of them have been a function of of pain tolerance, and some of them have been just functionability, not being able to grip or throw the ball like he usually could. And the thumb, that's a pretty important part of. Let's grab this football right here, right? I mean, right? This thumb, right? It's you're holding one side of the ball by itself there, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's gotta impact him a little bit. And beyond that, now DeAndre Swift. There you go.
There's my prop, and it gets bigger too. So.
Beyond that, he's not going to have his running back in all likelihood. I mean, we don't know the full story with DeAndre Swift yet, but you show up all of a sudden on a Thursday injury report with a concussion, you're probably not playing Sunday. I mean, maybe you're just getting evaluated, right? I mean, we see that happen after a game. Stafford, for instance, 2 weeks ago, where you get cleared. But if you have a concussion, you're not getting cleared to play in 3 days. Frankly, I wonder if he'll be ready by Thanksgiving. I mean, this is DeAndre Swift finished practice on Wednesday, talked to the media, so he was not in concussion protocol, and then he's not out on the field Thursday. So, something happened in those 18 hours there that is probably going to keep him off the field. So, even though the Lions are in a better spot injury-wise, Kenny Golladay should be back, even though he didn't practice on Thursday. They're not in a great spot injury-wise, having lost their running back who's coming off a great game.
You know what I mean? I think DeAndre Swift adds a nice element. He had a really nice game against Washington, but it's not like he's the heart of that offense. It's like he's not irreplaceable. And I think give the Lions credit for this. I mean, I think that having Adrian Peterson counts for something, and Kerryon Johnson. I mean, those guys they've been able running backs. They're not the dynamic potential that Swift has, but you also, Washington had a great defense. So what he did against Washington was impressive, for that reason. But would you have really been shocked if he didn't roll 150 yards again, all scrimmage? I mean, if he was held to like 60 yards running and maybe 30 catching, it still would have been an okay game for him. You wouldn't expect him to be at that level, every game. So I think the Lions can't, it's one game that he started. It's like they're going to count on like, hey, the offense runs to DeAndre Swift now, guys. So I think they have enough. You got Hawkinson, and you got Golladay. Marv Jones has had a good game. Marvin Hall, I think they're going to try to use him more. Maybe your boy Cephas that you're hot and cold on all the time, Dave. So I don't know where you stand this week on Cephas, but
I'll let you know Sunday night. I'll let you know Sunday night.
Sunday night when the grades come out. So yeah, and I think I think that Stafford's playing a little cagey with the whole thumb thing.
Oh, for sure.
Fine. At the end of the game, and then they talked about adrenaline, and then he went on Dan Miller's show, I think, and said, he's fine. And then I think that maybe he got a little bit talking to from the coaches saying, maybe you need to be more careful about this to throw some doubt in Matt Rule's mind about whether you're going to play or not. And so then he had to walk it back and like, well, now the thing is day by day. Everything is a day by day thing. And yeah. I think I'm day by day, Dave. So, so I don't think he's going to be affected by it. I think he should be fine.
I agree. He's going to be out there. I don't see any doubts. The one concern I guess I have with DeAndre Swift, and you're right. They have other options to run the ball. It's just, the play action passing game. I mean, I think Swift gives them something there that needs to be respected, right? Adrian Peterson, Hall of Fame player, but defenses don't fear him necessarily like they do DeAndre Swift just because of the explosive ability that Swift has. So maybe you lose a little bit there. You lose a little bit from a receiving standpoint, how you can attack teams. But, I guess it's the same that the Lions were preparing for Bridgewater really until maybe today. Plans changed Thursday night when all of a sudden Matt Rule sounds much less optimistic about him playing. And similarly, Carolina is probably preparing a lot for DeAndre Swift. And now all of a sudden you're like, all right, well, now we're not going to have Swift. They're not going to have Swift. How does this change things? So, all right, let's hop onto our predictions here, Carlos. You got the floor here. Who do you have winning and why?
Well, I have to go with the Lions on this. I think that they're just healthier right now. They're not, even though they let Washington claw back into it, they're putting up points on offense pretty regularly. So I don't see that being a problem for them this week. I got to go with the healthier team. The Lions are slightly better than the Panthers are now. 28-20 Lions.
I like it. We're similar in score again. We're similar in thought here. Look, honestly, if Teddy Bridgewater was playing, I was going to pick Carolina. I
Really, Teddy Bridgewater?
look,
Really?
it's not so much about. I just had this feeling in my stomach, like this is a game that the Lions are going to lose going on the road. Well coached team. I don't think much of Carolina. I think the Lions are a better team, but it just sort of struck me as one of those games where the Lions go on the road and lose after a big victory, frankly, one that was fairly emotional in how they won it, and DeAndre Swift playing well, and everything that came along with it, right? Now we're back in playoff contention, and then Deflategate, I guess, right? The up down theory where things, but PJ Walker, Will Greer, whoever the quarterback is, I don't trust it. I mean, it's sort of like the Lions last year when they're trotting out again, Jeff Driscoll and David Blau, where you can't pick them to win when you're playing a quarterback that was in the XFL last year, or a quarterback in Will Greer who hasn't thrown a pass this year and is so young to the league. So for that reason, I'm with you. I'm going to take. I don't know how many points the Panthers are going to be able to muster this week, given their quarterback situation and not having McCaffrey. So I think, I have the Lions 27-21. I think maybe Carolina gets a late score to try to make it, close, but I just don't know that they have enough offense to keep up.
Let's not forget the X factor too, is Matt Rule had the whole playbook down on how to stop DeAndre Swift. He's been watching him since he was in high school, out the window at Temple. So he knew if there was someone who's going to shut down DeAndre Swift, it was going to be Matt Rule this week. So maybe it's just as well he doesn't play this week.
You know what? Look, I've said all along that Carolina is not a great team, right? I just don't think they have a lot of pieces in place. But I think the job that they've done to be as competitive as they've been in some of these games is really a feather in Matt Rule's cap. Having Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, coming over for LSU. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's, he's got 200 yards rushing this year. He's barely played. And so you lose a dynamic playmaker like that, the guy that they gave all that money to, that really they built their offense around. Frankly, it's impressed me that they've been, as competitive as they have been in a lot of these games. I think it's similar to maybe where Miami was last year, where you saw some signs from the coaching staff, and now they just need to get some players. So they beat Arizona just like the Lions did. They beat the Falcons just like the Lions did. They beat the Chargers. So, they played the Saints close. I think that was a 3-point game. So I think this is going to be maybe the Panthers have a little more fight in them than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And maybe that's ultimately why,
I don't think the Bucs are giving them credit for fight.
No, no, absolutely not. Not after last week, but I think Tampa was, coming off that loss that Tampa had, they had a lot to prove themselves.
So if the Lions end up losing this game, are you going to look back and say, hey, the Panthers almost beat the Chiefs, so they're not as bad? Or is this going to be one of the tear the whole franchise down if they lose to the Panthers?
Oh yeah, tear it down. I mean, look, the Panthers are not a good team. I just think they're like the Dolphins in that they're a scrappy team. They're not as talented as the Lions. I think the Lions are a more talented team. I think, especially like we talked about at the quarterback position, when Matthew Stafford is playing, Kenny Galladay is playing. Injury concerns the Lions certainly have, but if you have Galladay on the field, it's funny, Carlos. Again, I was listening to some of the Matt Rule's press conference on Wednesday with the Carolina writers before we had our teleconference with him. And the questions that he's getting are so similar to some of the things that we've asked the coaches here. It's like, why are you playing so much, man-to-man defense, and what your zone, why have things changed? Why are you playing more zone now? And it seems like these are a lot of the questions that coaches, and when their teams are in a rut, they have to answer for schematically. Why are you doing this? It's not working. And really, there's like so much going on with all these teams that just aren't winning.
You're saying there's a Legion of Doom in Charlotte. Is that what you're saying?
Legion of Doom. There you go.
All right. My last question for you is this your first trip to Charlotte to the Panthers since you dodged that game?
Am I going to have to bring your girls back some Carolina Panther shirts?
Yeah. You're bringing me something back. I got something for Jack. You made me go to that stupid game, and then I had to bring something back for him because you couldn't have Jack Morton on a Tuesday for some reason.
All right, so here's a story for people who don't know. My son is 6 now. That was the last time the Panthers played there, was mid-September, and I guess it was 2014. and my wife was pregnant. It was the week before she was due, and I decided I wasn't going to make that trip. My daughter came a week early. I was going to stay home just in case my son was born. So Carlos took the trip for me. It was a great day, right? That was the Greg Hardy day, if I remember.
Greg Hardy protest and
yep. So there was lots going on that he had to go cover that day. And then he did. He brought my son back a little Carolina Panthers shirt, if I'm not mistaken, onesie or something like that. But my son, our boss at the time, I don't remember which editor we had at the time, maybe Gene, been a couple editors ago. So he said, hey, you write from home. That's fine. I'll write from home. As long as the baby doesn't come, I'll write something from home. Watch the game, sit down, write something. This is the honest to God true story. It had to be like 8:00 at night. I just finished writing. Maybe I flip on the night game. Boom. Hey, Dave, I think I'm going into labor. Wait, what? So I was cursing my son out like, dude, you couldn't have come 3 hours earlier so I didn't have to write. Like I just finished writing, legitimately just finished whatever stories I was writing that day when all of a sudden my wife goes into labor and it's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, great. This kid he can't even look out for his dad. He's coming into this world. Yeah. Coming after me, making me work just so I didn't have, even though I didn't travel that day, Carlos, I still had to work. And then Jack came and then I took a few days off and you covered the Lions the next week.
The only reason I forgive Jack is he's finally switched over. Now he's a Cal State Fullerton Titans fan. So he's redeemed himself slowly but surely, Dave.
Carlos, I found that shirt on his floor the other day and I was like, bro, you got to take care of this shirt, right? This is your new baseball program. So, he was like, you're right. Titans. Gave it a big hug. Like that's his team now. So see.
I'll get him a toy. He needs like a little mini bat or something like that. That's what little boys want, right? Little violent toys.
Yeah, little violent toys. So he did, he's a student of the week when he comes back for his kindergarten class when we come back from Thanksgiving break. And, you got to fill out these, send in some pictures for a little poster that goes up on the wall or whatever, right? Any parents out there certainly know what I'm talking about. One of the questions was your favorite toy. And so we sent in a picture. The picture we picked was him playing baseball because his favorite toy is his baseball bat. So, yeah, that's my son right now.
Perfect. Congratulations, Jack.
Yeah, congrats. But yes, first time in Carolina since then. So I will be sure to enjoy it with my mask on, COVID style, staying away from everyone, socially distant. So
last thing, Romeo Quara said, Bojangles, that's the restaurant.
And I was looking for like a local joint. I wasn't looking for Bojangles.
He knew that. He was messing with us.
I appreciate his suggestion, but I will probably go find somewhere else to eat. So that's right.
I wish he'd sound like Applebee's or Denny's or something like that.
That's what I felt like, right? Like, hey, check out the McDonald's at the airport while you're there. Like, good call. I will do that. So
extra credit for Romeo for that.
Right. All right, that'll do it for us here. We both have the Lions winning this week and short week next week. So Monday, when we do our next video, we'll just we'll real quick on the game. We'll hit some predictions for Thanksgiving, one video. Make sure you keep it on freep.com for all your Lions news. Lions, Carolina Panthers, 1 p.m. Sunday. For Carlos Monarrez, I'm Dave Birkett, freep.com.